Now let's look at the fourth example problem in topic 1. So this is Johnny likes numbers. The problem description is very succinct. So we are given the input number, two input integers n and k, and we want to output the smallest integer x so that x is greater than n and it's also divisible by the number k. So let's first look at some of the samples. So if n is 5, k is 3, then the output is 6 because 6 is a multiple of 3 and 6 is greater than 5 and 6 is the smallest such number. So similarly for 25 and 13, we want a multiple 13. So 26 is greater than 25 and it's the smallest number that satisfies both conditions, multiple 13 and greater than 25. So the next multiple 13 will be 39. That will be too big because 26 already satisfies condition. And 13 doesn't work because it's less than 25. So the last sample, we have 26 and 13. And the output is 39 because 26 is a multiple 13. But 26 is not greater than itself. So we want the output to be greater than n. Equal is not allowed. So that's this problem. So to solve this problem, first I want to describe another way to check multiples, whether A is a multiple of B. So I assume you all remember how to do it by take mod. So A mod B, if it's equal to 0, then A is a multiple of B. So here is another way. So the claim is that A is a multiple of B if and only if A equals A divided by B multiplied by B. It's just that the division here is integer. So after we divide, we round down. So let's first look at some concrete examples. So if A is 12, B is 3, then 12 divided by 3, that's 4. And then 4 times 3 again, that's 12. So that equals A. So indeed, 12 is a multiple of 3, and this equation holds. Let's consider if A is 13, also B remains 3, then we have A divided by B being 4. So A divided by B multiplied by B is 12, and this is not equal to 13. And the 13 is not a multiple of 3. So looking at these two examples, they are consistent with here. So here we offer a proof. First, A is the same as A divided by B then multiplied by B. So this is just, I guess, the definition of division will make this true. And second, A divided by B, so this is which could be a fractional integer. This is equals A integer divided by B if and only if A is a multiple of B, because this is defined as A divided by B and then round down. So when they are equal only when A divided by B is integer. In other words, A is a multiple of B. So given this, we can basically prove that. So A equal that if and only if A is a multiple of B. So essentially, this way is this A integer divided by B times B will give you a multiple of B, and it will give you one that is less than or equal to A. So you can use this to help solve this problem. So so when I asked my beta tester for the course material to do this problem, so what I find out is that so he's able to do the math. So if I give him any pair of numbers, then he can come up with a solution. However, converting what he mentally did to code turns out to be challenging. So I have some advice for this situation. So if this also occurs to you, then what I suggest is you write down a lot more samples. So basically, you just come up with numbers that you think are interesting, and then a pair of numbers, and then you write out the result. When you write a lot of them, you can do one of two things. One is you can look at these pairs, so input and output pairs, to observe patterns, and then use that pattern to help you. The second possible thing to do is because you actually know how to compute the answer. So you're following some steps to do it. It's just that this step may be too fast that you don't even realize what you are doing. So basically slow down, think of every step, what you are computing, and how the number you use is related to the input, and then basically convert your mental algorithm into code. So um, uh, these are, I think, two things that hopefully might help if you also have the situation where you can solve the math, but having trouble with coming up with the code. So assuming that you observe, I think one thing you can observe after written down enough of these examples. If you don't see the pattern here, I encourage you to write down, let's say, 4 more pairs, and then stare at them, try to observe patterns. So hopefully you see that there are two different cases. One is n is a multiple of k. So here, these two test cases are that case. And in that case, you can see that actually the result is simply n plus k, because you want a multiple of k, n is already a multiple of k, but n itself is not big enough, so you add k. So that's one case. Then the other case is n is not a multiple of k. Then the output need to be some number multiple of k, and that number actually will be around n divided by k. So hopefully with that, one way to write the code is we write down these two cases. So when n is multiple of k, it's just n plus k. And the other case is when n is not a multiple of k, we need to get some multiple of k. And the one natural way to do that is we n divide by k, then multiply by k. And this will give integer multiple k, but is less than or equal to n. So you need to add the k to it. So this is one way to do it. It's correct. If you write code like this, then you may observe that, in fact, when n is a multiple of k, if you do this, n divided by k times k, you get back n. So in some sense, I could replace this branch with n divided by k times k plus k, because when n is multiple k, this n equals this. Now, if I'm doing exactly the same thing under if branch and else branch, then that means I don't really need the if condition. So then a single statement in the body after I read in input, just print this, is always correct. So here's another version that one may come up with is, suppose I start with coming up with this multiple of k that is less than or equal to n, and in fact the largest such number. Now, this number may not be big enough because we want the number to be greater than k. So if it turns out the x is less than or equal to n, then I need to add another k. So this is also correct. And one thing you can observe is that, in fact, this if condition will always be true, because if I divide n divided by k times k, that can never be bigger than n. So the most it can be is equal n. That happens when n is a multiple of k. Now, if this thing can never be false, then there's no point in having if. So basically, I'm just saying x equals this, then x equals x plus k. I might as well just be x equals this thing plus k. So I might as well directly print that, then print this. So that's actually the same simplified version as we arrived at from the previous slide. And there are other ways to do this. So these slides list a few of these ways. And I encourage you to think about them to see why it works. So the first one is I start with n, then I need to add some number, right? So, and the number I add will depend on the remainder of n divided by k. So if, for example, if the remainder is 1, I need to add k minus 1 in order to become a multiple of k, and also bigger than n. If the remainder is 2, I need to add k minus 2. If the remainder is 0, that means n is multiple of k. I need to add k. So it turns out the number I need to add is exactly k minus n divided by k, the remainder of n divided by k, n mod k. So the other thing, I think you can see the other thing why they are essentially all equivalent, doing the same thing using slightly different syntax. So another thing I want you to think about is how to compute the smallest integer n. so that n is greater than or equal to n, and n is divisible by k. So the difference is simply we don't have in this question we don't have equal. Here I have equal. So this is a little bit more common that thing that you might encounter, but it's the code is very similar. So to recap for this problem, I guess the main concept that this kind of minor programming idiom is this computing multiple integer that is around integer n. So basically integer division by k times k. And the equivalent way is n plus n minus n mod k. So this will do exactly the same thing as before. And so depending on whether you are kind of stuck at the beginning, you may or may not have a chance of practicing this method strategy that I'm trying to convey. That is, you work from concrete test cases, and you create more when needed. So the problem may only come with very few test cases, but if you can solve the math, but you're just having trouble to code, you can write out a lot more test cases and then try to generalize from that.